Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits, and today is Sunday, July 14th, 2019. This is episode 335. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode, and if you're new, hopefully you enjoy this episode and you'll come back in the future. As you can see, I'm flying solo this week. Unfortunately, Mandy is under the weather. I'll talk about where we went out of town, but on the tail end of our trip, she started not feeling well, and she slept most of the day yesterday, and I'm sure she's probably doing much of the same today. So I don't know what's up with that girl. She's been getting sick a lot lately. But we wish her the best and a quick recovery, because I don't need none of that around me. But here I am, so hopefully you'll stick with me. I have a lot to show, and hopefully the episode will be a little bit quicker since it'll just be me rambling on. Alright, so as you can see, we're once again back in my home studio, my own crafting area. It's just so much easier when everything's here rather than lugging it all down to the actual yarn dyeing studio. But that is where Andy is at. He was supposed to have been home earlier. I came home a little earlier and took a quick nap. And by quick, it was supposed to be an hour, and then it turned into like 2 hours, which is always what happens. So hopefully he will not come home in the middle of this. If he does, there may be some dogs, or if there's an abrupt editing moment, that's why. So let's get into what's been going on in the last 2 weeks since we last chit-chatted. I have been home. I know. It has been marvelous. I have not had to travel for work. That is going to change here in a few days. But this was kind of our summer break. So we've been working around the studio, getting things dyed up and trying to catch back up and replenish inventory. We've had 2 trunk shows that we've had to dye for that are being shipped out, both towards the East Coast. One is out right now and will be out for the next 2 weeks, and that's at Bella Filati in North Carolina, I believe. And then another one is going out towards the end of the month to Wool Workshop in Roanoke, Virginia. So while Andy and I cannot be there, they are both a little too far for us to drive for, say, like a one-day event. They are getting a smattering of our yarns, and they will be in store for about 2 weeks each. So we're excited for that. But yeah, it's just been working around the house. We got the gutter finally fixed on the studio, which was what we've been waiting on to move forward on other progress. Because the gutter was not working well, water was running down the back of the building, which was, having an issue with the roof and leakage and all that jazz. So they finally came and fixed the back portion of the gutter. They did not do the front portion. They didn't bring the right equipment to add a downspout to the front, but they say they're going to come back and not charge me. But then they charged me for what they already did, minus the front. So I have a feeling they just don't want the small job and they won't come back. It's really hard finding those in the labor industries to actually come out and do the work anymore. And from what I've heard from talking to people, it's going to get even harder and more expensive because people are not wanting to learn those trades in the younger generation, which, I can understand both sides. So it's unfortunate. Anyway, so that's been going on. We did a little reorganizing in the studio. I should say Andy and Amanda did, which allows us to have a little bit more space up front for potentially down the line, a small retail area. But Andy's birthday was yesterday, so happy belated birthday. He knows that, though. So his birthday was yesterday, and his mom came down to visit on Monday, and she was going to stay for an extended period of time, unknown to us really how long she was going to stay. And so she was here Monday and Tuesday, and then Tuesday night, they were planning on Wednesday to go to Springfield, Illinois, which is home of Lincoln's grave and his presidential museum. and they were going to go do all that. And I had the bright idea of looking up these cabins that we had rented about 5 years ago, just under 5 years ago. We rented these cabins in southern Illinois, in the town of Alto Pass, and I had kept their card that I had taken from the cabin before, and I said, well, I just thought to myself, I'll look up the calendar the next 2 nights and see if they're free, because they're usually booked months out, especially on the weekend, but the weeks are a little bit better to catch things on. So I looked, and they have 2 cabins, and one was booked, but the other one was free for Wednesday and Thursday night. And so I approached them and I said, hey, do you want to drive down south and kind of get away from work in the studio and go see something new and go down to these cabins? And his mom seemed interested, and Andy was like, sure, why not? Yeah, that'll get us away from the studio, because even though his mom was here, we were still working for most of the day. And so we decided to leave Monday early afternoon. It was about a 4-hour drive down. My sister Amanda joined us since we had 3 bedrooms, and we actually took the dogs, which I did not think was going to be an issue. I did not see anywhere on their website that said you couldn't take dogs. Then we got there, and then they said, the cabin policies will be on the counter. You're expected to sign them. Whether you sign them or not, you're going to be expected to follow them. Nowhere on the contract does it say no pets. So we were fine the first day, and then the second day we let the dogs out without a leash because, there's no one really around. And there was another dog over by the other cabin, which turned out to be the owner's dog while she was cleaning the other cabin. And our dogs decided to bark at that dog ferociously because that's what they do. And so I got our dogs back into our cabin, and then up walks the owner, which we didn't know was her. But she just had a heyday and was not having it, and we were not supposed to have pets, and we volunteered at that point. We had done what we wanted to do, and we were like, if you want us to leave, we'll just leave, but you're going to give us our night back. And Andy brought out the contract, and she's like, it is on the website. Lo and behold, Andy went looking, and it is on the website, but it's not in the paragraph under cabin policies. It's right under checkout time and not bolded. I did go on the website searching for that information, and I couldn't find it. So that tells you how not prevalent it was on the website. Needless to say, she's like, I'll charge you an extra $20 for cleaning fee or something. And we were like, whatever. So we paid it, and, we kept them kenneled when we were not there. They were not an issue. But we got down there Wednesday evening. We went out to dinner at some local New Orleans style, Cajun style restaurant. Food was subpar, unfortunately. And then we got up early on Thursday to go hiking at Little Grand Canyon, which is maybe a 25-minute drive from the cabins. And we had gone hiking there 5 years ago. Now, unfortunately, when we got there, we took the dogs and all of us. It's a big loop. And we went in one way, and you pretty much go right in, and you go down in through the canyon, which is just a small trickle of water, and you walk the canyon until you start coming back up and all this. Well, we got there, and there was a handwritten note on the map signage area that said canyon is flooded. You can go out this one way to the overlook, but you have to turn back and come back the same way. So we were a little disappointed that the fun part of the hike was not accessible, because that's what I really enjoyed, what I thought was really pretty and fun to actually hike. But we did it seemed more than that, but it was a mile in on the other side, and we got to the outlook, and we stopped for a minute, took some pictures, and then we just hiked back out. We were all ready to go at that point. Even though it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, it was still 80 degrees out, and there was no breeze in the forest where we were at. It's part of the Shawnee National Forest. And there's a lot of spiders. So somebody who's in front has to have like a guiding stick to kind of take care of webs. We walked out, and then his mom wanted to go to some place that was also local. Sorry, Andy is texting fries or mac and cheese with dinner. We're having Chili cheese dogs. I'll say mac and cheese. We need milk. I used the last of the milk yesterday. So, sorry, I don't usually do that, but he's probably heading to the store. And he's nice enough to pick it up. So, also close to this area is something called the Pomona Natural Stone Bridge, which we had seen last time we were there, but we didn't stop. So his mom really wanted to stop. So, we started driving back to the cabins, turned off, and then all of a sudden you're on a dirt gravel road, like real gravel. And so you have to go like 15 miles an hour. And then you're like in the middle of a forest on a gravel road that's got bumps and potholes and is one way. And I was like, where are we going? And all of a sudden you end up in this small little, clearing. And it was a much smaller hike. It was only like a third of a mile. And it was a beautiful bridge that was naturally made. So we walked around there for a little bit. We took a few pictures. And then we hiked out and headed back to the cabin. We were going to find lunch, but finding lunch in this small town where the cabin is, there was really only one place that was open, which was a taco stand. So we eventually landed there and we took it back to the cabin. We took naps and showers. And then we got up and Andy planned us to go to an escape room in Carbondale, which is not too far, maybe about another 25 minutes away from our cabin. So it was a place called the Panic Room, and we did an Egyptian adventure for Little Egypt in southern Illinois. And we won. So this was my second one. Andy and I did one by ourselves, and we didn't quite make it. And then Andy did another one with his brother and sister-in-law, and they got out. That was down in St. Louis. And then his mom and Amanda, this was their first time. And we won with like 10 minutes to spare. So that was exciting. And then we went to dinner, which was, again, subpar. The service was really bad. We had to wait almost an hour for our food because of my meal. And then when we got everything, everybody's food was cold. So they did take care of that. They did recognize their mistake and take care of it. But we really wanted to like the restaurant. It was very kitschy and themed, but yeah. So and then we got up early on Friday and we drove back home. We got home around 1 o'clock and we all went to work. His mom took a nap because she didn't sleep well at the cabin. And then, yeah, so here we are. So it was nice to get away. I'll throw some pictures in at the end, what few I took. And yeah, now I got to get ready for the heat of Nashville because I'll be heading down to Nashville for the Super Summer Knit Together. I'm heading down on Wednesday. Andy is heading down on Friday to join me for the market. But I'm excited for that. So I'm sporting, you can't really see, my Super Summer Knit Together. Does it say what year this is? I don't think so. This is maybe 3 years ago? I think this is 3 years ago that this shirt came out. So there's that. All right, shall we get to the knitting now that I've been talking? I'm sorry, I'm trying to clear his text message, so maybe I won't go off again on the computer. We are an Apple household, but everything is connected under my name other than his phone. So when a text message goes off on my phone, it goes off on the iPad, the computer, the other iPad at the studio. We're all connected. All right, so let's move into what's taking about. I don't have anything finished, but I am close on something, so that is good because I want to get it off the needles, and it means I should have a finished object for you next episode. But that also means I have something in rehearsal that I randomly picked yarn from my stash. I used my random number generator that I love, and it picked my next project for me, and I'm super excited. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right, so that moves us on to what is performing. First up is my wrap design by me. I'm tentatively calling this the Jelly Roll wrap, and it is using Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper and Showstopper Gradient. The main color is called Mary's Jam, and the gradient is Fruit Salad. And so I am currently on to the fourth of 6 colors before they reverse back. And it's got lace, placed beads, garter, gradients, and all that jazz. So it will eventually go this way. It is hard to see. This is a very pale pistachio color. This is a very pale yellow. Then into a very pale pink. And I'm just now joining a slightly darker pink. So I just dyed this gradient again yesterday. And I realized I did mixed up the colors and the way I'm putting them in the design. But I'm kind of making it a little bit more gradiated than just color coordinated. So I'm okay with that. But and that's on a size 5 US 3.75 millimeter needle using size 5 beads that I'm placing with a crochet hook now. And they are 5 triangle beads from Bead Biz. And the beads are called Pink Lemonade. Next up is my Alpine blanket. This is using Serdar Alpine in the Brindle colorway on a size 15 needle, which is a 10 millimeter. And I am over halfway there. I'm in the 11th ball, but I don't know if it's really going to be halfway there because it's not as long as I would like yet, but I'm trying to find the end with the needle in it. There we go. So that's halfway. We'll see what size it gets to be, but right now it's, we want it to cover us, so, and it barely goes, if it covers my toes, it goes up to my knees. That's barely. But, this might have to be big enough because this is already 20 balls that will be into it. This is 11 of the 20. And the striping doesn't look as bad as it's looking on camera. And I'm just magic knotting them in as I go. They hide in with as floofy as they are, so. There's that. And then next up is my History Has Its Eyes on You socks using White Birch Fiber Arts 7525 Superwash Merino Nylon in the History Has Its Eyes on You. I'm also using a Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper Mini Skein. It's the first color from the London Fog gradient that I had pulled out, I had on hand. And I am working my way down the foot. So you can see here, that's where I put in my waist yarn for my afterthought heel. And I am, I'm getting close. I'm getting close to finishing the foot and then adding the toe and the heel. So this is what's going to be finished next episode. This is knit on a size 1 US with 2.25 millimeter needle on 2 circs. And next is my Verdun by Melanie Berg. This is a big wrap. And I'm using 4 skeins of Leading Men Fiber Arts Show Stealer and Nude Scene, Poseidon, Dirty Truce, and Black Walnut on a size 6 US, which is a 4 millimeter needle. And I just got to the next section last night while working on this, while we were watching TV. So that was exciting. And so let's see if I can kind of show it to you this way. So you start off with the stripes in the first 2 colors, and then you add the 3rd color and stripe in the 4th, and then switch the background colors. And as you can see here, you start doing some short rows with double stitches or German short rows, and it starts veering this way. And I'm still going here. And then eventually it'll catch up to here with the short rows, and then you do some lace, and then you do another section of the stripes back with the original colors. So I loved these colors together on the rack. I questioned them when I started knitting them, but I actually think it's going to be a really cool, like, sea and sky meets forest and earth kind of shawl. At least that's how I'm justifying it. So that's it for the knitting. Somebody's home. At least they're in the other room, so it's not as loud. So, moving on, I've got my Granny Square blanket to show you. So, we're working on that. Again, my wonderful basket of minis that I work from. And I started a new row, which are these 3 squares, the past couple of days. I think this is Yarn Geek Fibers. This, I don't remember. This is some Lolo Did It. And then I did finish off some of these last ones down here on the top there. I don't remember where I showed you 2 weeks ago, but it is getting big. But yeah, and it's 15 squares wide. It'll be 20 squares tall before I make a decision. I think that'll be tall enough. But that is a 5-round granny square using fingering / sport weight and a C hook. And then I use the join as you go method with, I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Soliloquy undyed to join as I go. So that's it. That's all that I've been working on the past 2 weeks, but, making some progress. I've also been doing some other crafting because I've been home, so let's talk a little bit more about that. But first, let's talk about in rehearsal. Because my socks are almost done, I actually decided to pull from my yarn stash what I was going to knit next because I kind of have a weird rotation, and that project slot is for yarn from my yarn stash rather than yarn from my local yarn store or yarn from Leading Men Fiber Arts. So I decided to random number generate from my stash. And it picked one of these skeins. I don't remember which one. But it is a 4-skein project. And I'm happy because it's a little older by a year plus. But it's still relatively new. And it was stash that I bought on the road. So it's going to be caked up and knit here soon. And the project that I associated with this, I actually saw a shop model while I was at the Loopy U last June for a trunk show. And the shop model that I saw they knit up was the Blend on the Water by Callie Monster, which looks like this, if I can expand it without, there we go. So it's kind of a faded DK weight triangular shawl. Let me see if I can bring down the brightness. I'm sorry, I thought I had this all planned out. I was like, oh, I'll get the page up and the picture ready, and then blah, blah, blah. So, there you go. That kind of helps. But it's very pretty. It's got some texture, some fading. So I actually think that this is going to probably be my retreat knitting because it is pretty simple. So I'll bring my socks to finish, and then I'll probably bring this shawl to work on, and I'll work monogamously on it. I might also bring the Verdun to work on. Just the lace and the beads of my design does not make it really good retreat knitting. And I've learned going to enough retreats now that I don't need to pack all the projects. I still pack more than I need. But like at ZK, I just worked on Verdun. So if I pack this, then I might get some good headway on it. So the yarn that I picked out was what they had knit the shop sample in. It is not the same colors. I put together my own color combo, but it is the Uncommon Thread Merino DK. They are out of the UK, and I had never tried their stuff. I know that the Loopy U carries a lot of their stuff. So the first color, I had to remember how I ordered this, and I hope I have it the same way, but I've decided on this order as of right now. The first one is Arkham Asylum, which is this slate gray, but it has the softest speckles of like chartreuse, pink, and blue. I mean, you can barely, yeah, there you go, see them. And then it's going to fade into Dust. And then into Wilted Rose. And then lastly, Aged Merlot, which is a very, very dark Cabernet color, which I hope does not bleed. So I think I'm going to go that way, because the other way was to do it this way. And I don't know, that's nice too. I think I like that. So I got to cake that up and get that ready and find a project bag for it. You know, all the fun stuff. And then you get to cast on. So that's what's in rehearsal. All right, let's talk about behind the scenes. I finished them spinning too, and it's been almost 3 months this 4-ounce braid has been on my wheel. This just goes to show you I don't travel with my e-spinner, and I'm never home. But I did finish a skein of the first draft, who is unfortunately no longer dying, Superwash Merino in the Spilled Ink colorway, and I got 284 yards of a 2-ply sport weight. There it is, washed and thwacked and dried and skeined. It is beautiful shades of white and gray and teal. So there's that. And I've had that in my stash for a couple of years, so that's good to get it out of my stash. This will be photographed and up on the website soon. I want to say soon, but it's also going to go to SSK with me, so but keep an eye out for it. So I got that done. That's finally some finished spinning to show you. And then, of course, you knowing me, I used my random number generator to pick for me my next braid of fiber. And I think it picked one of, if not the oldest fiber that I own. And I actually think it's one of. I think it's like the second oldest. I picked this up at Midwest Fiber and Folk the last year they were up, or one of the last years they were open. And I think I vend alongside these guys still, and I see I think they're behind us at like Shepherd's Harvest, and because I see their wonderful balls of roving displayed. But it's what drew me in, and I got 2 or 3 of these for super cheap in 2011. I had to look it up. It's 8 years old, but this is from Hidden Valley Farm and Woolen Mill. And this is a 75% Coopworth, 25% mohair, roving in the Cypress Moss colorway, and it's browns and silvers and golds, and then that like softest of aqua blues in there. So this is a 7.97 ounce bump. I've started spinning it. I have not split it into 2. I think I will eventually split it into 2, but I think I'm just going to roll with this and then eventually take it to the studio where my scale is. When I think I'm closer to the halfway point, and pull off till I'm about at 4 ounces each. So this will be about an 8-ounce braid skein when it's done. So there's that. And it's nice when it's kind of drafted already for you, or in the roving form. So it works out well. I've spun with the Coopworth before because I think that's what they focus on, but I think my last bump had some silk in it. So that's what I'm spinning. It's going to be 2 plies, 8 ounces. We'll see where it goes. All right, moving into the scene shop, my other crafting. I will say now the triangular loom has moved to the basement. I realized I didn't even finish the first project. I don't really care for it. It's not my favorite thing. If I get the urge, it'll come back out. But if not, maybe I will try to eventually sell it or something. But I have been doing a little bit of cross-stitching. Not as much as I'd like, but a little bit here and there. I'm working on One for Sorrow. This is a Heaven and Earth Designs. It's a full coverage, and I'm using 25 count Easy Count Lugana. Maybe it's not Lugana. It's an Easy Count grid fabric, so I don't actually have to count. Well, I do, but I don't have to, be so meticulous because it's already gridded and it's going to be fully covered anyway. But I am using 2/1 tent stitch, or also known as half stitch. And you can see there some of the shading in the sky. This will be a blackbird eventually, but it's a lot of background. You start in the upper left-hand corner. So, slow but steady progress. I also have my weaving over here. I am close to being done, so I'm hoping to be able to show you this finished scarf. That's corn dog. Sometimes it gets a little verklempt. But this is my weaving so far. I'm using 2 skeins of Ghost Light, which is our lace weight, which is being discontinued, but is on sale in our shop for 25% off. The warp is Mana Mystery, and then the weft, which is mainly what you see here, is Imperfections. So I'm loving the drape with lace weight. My next one will be a fingering weight, I think, to kind of keep me motivated. And the next one should go a little bit quicker. But I'm almost done with the 1 skein of lace weight, so we'll see how long that wrap is. I'm sorry. I took a nap too, but... All right, moving into the spotlight. What are we watching and reading? I have not finished listening to anything, but we did finish watching Westworld Season 2. Enjoyed that. Looking forward to where they're going to go with Season 3. But I'm sure it'll be a while. It took about 1.5 years to get Season 2 out, so... We did finish Season 1 of Chambers. Whether there'll be a Season 2, I don't know. Whether we'll watch it, we might start it, but... it went really weird, especially in the last episode. And it would have been fine if it went that way the whole time, but it kind of threw in this whole random plot line right in the last of the 10 episodes and was like, oh yeah, this is what it was all about. Well, you didn't lead there very well. So that was a little meh about it. So there's that. Of course, Stranger Things came out on 4th of July, and we didn't start it right away, but we've watched the first 4 episodes. We'll see if we watch any more tonight. Enjoying that, of course. I started a new, to me, series called Dead to Me last night. I watched the first episode. It stars Christina Applegate, from Married with Children, but she does a really good job. I'm really impressed with her in the first episode, so... I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. That deals with a woman who lost her husband tragically in a car accident, and she goes to a grief counseling session and meets a woman who supposedly lost her fiance. And in the first episode, because that's all I've watched, they become fast friends because they both suffer from insomnia. You realize that the second woman has been lying, and she is not... one living in a fancy house where her dead fiance owned, but her dead fiance is in fact alive, and he broke up with her, and so she kind of just found solace in going to this grief counseling, not only because of her ex-fiance, but also she had suffered many miscarriages, and that was what led to the breakup. But there's a twist right at the end of it, episode 1, that's like, wait, what? So I will be watching that on my own as Andy Legos. By the way, the other half of this really long room that we have, which was the old studio, Andy has refurbished his desk, and he has his Lego table set up in his Lego room going, his craft room, and he is working on Stranger Things Upside Down House, the Will's house with the upside down. So I did watch 2 movies. Andy and I watched Ocean's 8, which features Sandra Bullock, Brianna, Cate Blanchett, everybody and their mother is in it. It was good. We enjoyed it. I never really watched the other Ocean's movies, so I felt like maybe they cleaned it up a little bit compared to the other ones. I don't know. I felt like there was a little bit more grit to the other movies, a little bit more at risk, and it felt a little safe. with this one. But I did enjoy the acting, and I was along for the ride. It was fun. So I then watched Murder Mystery, which is a Netflix movie starring Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. It was one of the highest ranked premiering movies on Netflix. It was cute. Again, went along for the ride. It is not anything fancy and, whatever. It is cheesy, but it was cute. So, I actually thought Adam Sandler did a good job. I did not like him in the beginning of the movie, but he actually did a pretty good character. That was not his normal stupid character that he can play really well. So, yeah. So that's it. What I'm watching. Stash enhancement. I am nothing. I've been good. I haven't been to the yarn store. I did drop off some yarn there, but I didn't shop. So I haven't been at shows. All right, we have a giveaway this episode, and it is for a book, and it is for Family Knits, 25 Hand Knits for All Seasons by Debbie Bliss. So it's got sweaters. That's mainly what they show on the back. This came out in 2007. So it's about 12 years old. There are men's sweaters. There are kids' sweaters. There are some hats. But it looks like a lot of jackets, Guernseys, and sweaters. A scarf, a bag. But yeah, a lot of tops in here. So if you are a top knitter, and a lot of them... oh, I didn't know this came from here. This must be republished from another sweater, from another book, because I have it in a different book. I knit this. This is one of the first sweaters I knit. This is the Cricket sweater. Knitted out of baby alpaca, so it is super warm. But, yeah. So, check that out when you can. If you want to enter for this, you need to be a member of the Dramatic Knits group. And here's another one of the men's sweaters. Go on over to the thread that I'll open on the Dramatic Knits Ravelry group and post a response to this episode's prompt. And only post once. And I will draw randomly using a random number generator before I record again in 2 weeks. And the prompt for this episode is what kinds of things are normal now in today's age, but will be highly valued antiques in a century. So if you think, what's normal now? What do we see all over the place that everybody has, but it's actually going to be a highly valued antique in 2120, and around that time. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys take. It takes a little bit of thinking, and I thought it was an interesting question. So go on over to the thread and answer that one to be entered for that book. All right, Inside the Knitter Studio. This is where viewers ask questions of myself and Amanda, and we answer them, one per episode. And please go on over there. You might have to click on more topics because people haven't posted questions in a while. So it's kind of dropped down, but it is sticky at the top, but it still drops down if people don't answer or respond in a certain amount of time. This episode's question comes from Gabby Abby, and she said, I was going to ask how you started dyeing, but a couple people beat me to it. How did you start selling your yarn? Etsy? Was there anything that you can recall that really boosted your sales? Or was it just a combination of your YouTube channel and doing shows? Being from a small town myself, I always love hearing stories of how makers get their stuff out there. I love watching your podcast and seeing your beautiful yarn and your beautiful faces. Well, my face needs a trim. Andy and I were trying to grow out our beards, and it is... This needs to go. It's going to be going tonight or tomorrow morning, but I've been waiting because my hair is actually really long, and I can't stand when my hair is long, but it balances out with the beard, and if I trim the beard, then the hair would look even longer. So it's all going to get buzzed before I go to Nashville. I still have the beard, but it'll be trimmed. Anyway, moving back to the question. How did we start selling yarn? So I eventually started on Etsy selling hand spun when I learned to spin. Did a few sales on there, but I knew if I wanted to start a business, I didn't necessarily want to start with Etsy because I was hoping to have a good deal of sales eventually. And with Etsy, you're paying per transaction. So I decided to go with Big Cartel. Big Cartel charges you one monthly fee, and then that's it. But you have a limited number of items you can post. So we had to do workarounds as our business has grown. Instead of listing each skein of yarn individually, we now have to list by colorway, and then you drop down and pick your yarn base. So that's how we chose that. And we've gone to various places, knitting guilds, things like that, and we've talked about our business and how we've gotten started. And when I say we, Andy sits there in the audience and applauds me, but it's usually me. Andy does not like public speaking. He's fine one-on-one at shows, but just doesn't care to get up and talk in front of a group, so that's fine. As a former teacher, I can do that. But we freely admit that because I had started Dramatic Knits prior to starting Leading Men Fiber Arts, I knew that I had a customer base and a clientele to reach out to firsthand, which definitely helped us start our business. I don't know how I would have gotten my name out there in such an efficient way without having an audience built in with the podcast. Something else that also helped is because I had been podcasting and I'd been doing virtual knit nights with other podcasters and other that became my friends, I was able to send a lot of podcasts my yarn to try out. And so my yarn started popping up in a short amount of time on various video podcasts and audio podcasts, which helped kind of not just bring up my yarn on my podcast, but then also kept bringing it up in people's ears so that they might actually go out and check out my shop. So that's that. The internet and technology has made owning a small business very, very conducive and easy while vending. We did not start shows until we opened our shop in August. We did our first show in November, and then we did YarnCon in April. But we didn't do stitches the first year we were in business, and we had to grow into that. So, it's only the last year and a half, 2 years that we've really hit going to shows hard because it is now our full-time job. So, there's that. So thank you, Gabby Abby, for asking a question. I would love if some of you would go out to the question and answer thread. I think it's from our Podiversary thread, but it says Q&A thread. Go on over there, ask us a question, and we'll get to it eventually in a future episode. All right, moving on. A round of applause. Last episode, we had a giveaway for the Modulancho pattern. It is a poncho, a modular poncho, hence Modulancho, by Shayna Cohen, Shayna Lines Designs. And she used several of Leading Men Fiber Arts bases to design that. And so I asked on the Ravelry group, if you had to break one world record in order to receive $1 million, what world record would you try to break? The winner of that was number 9, GSP for me. That's Julie from Washington. And she said, I would hold the record for procrastination. I can always find something else to do, especially if I'm not enthralled with something. Thus, my number of unfinished projects, both knitting and cross-stitch. Yeah, I watch FlossTubers, which is YouTube for cross-stitch, and I cannot understand how people can have so many cross-stitch projects when they take so long, even when it's your core hobby. So I'm glad I still only have one cross-stitch project at a time, but holding the world record for procrastination. I don't know if I'd want to do that, though, because then you'd have to procrastinate and you couldn't knit on things or craft on things, so might be a double-edged sword. Anyway, Julie, congratulations. If you would please email me, Dramatic Knits, on Ravelry, and I, with your first and last name, mailing address, and email address, so I can send you tracking. And I'll get that out to you as soon as I can. We do have our July 2019 Race to the Finished Object contest currently open in our Ravelry group. All you have to do is finish something and post a picture there. Each thing that you finish in the month should get its own post, and that gets you an entry into the drawing. Each month we do 2 prizes. One's a physical prize, whether it be yarn, project bag, something that's been donated to the shop, the show, which we did get a box of donated yarn. Thank you from Diane. So thank you so much, Diane. She's local to me. And there's some nice stuff in there. So you'll start seeing that pop up in Race to the Finished Object contest prizes. But then we also have a pattern from a featured designer each month. And featured designers agree to be featured from 1 to 6 months. And they agree to donate a pattern each month. So we are in the mid-range of our featured designer, which this month is Jen Lucas. This is her 3rd of 6 months. And she has designed a lot with our yarn. I've had the pleasure of meeting her several times, and she is just an all-around really sweet and wonderful person. So if you have not checked out Jen's pattern, she has written a multitude of books and done a lot of designing and is really, really talented. So definitely check out her pattern page, which is linked on our show notes, which can be found at dramaticknits.com. Moving into center stage, all things Leading Men Fiber Arts. I don't have anything to show you. I meant to bring some things, and I forgot because I was so enthralled with taking a nap this afternoon. But we will have some new items coming to the shop soon, most likely after the Super Summer Knit Together. But we did get an order of new project bags from Anne at the Silver Shed USA. All of this order's project bags feature Leading Men Fiber Arts, either knitted swatches or beauty shot pictures of yarn, all beautified. But we have medium and extra large bags coming in a variety of colorways of ours. So those will be first hitting up the SSK market, and then will be listed on the website. We also will be carrying shawl cuffs and shawl latches, which are a new item to this maker's lineup, and they are from the Rusted Stitch, and that's Stephanie out of Iowa. She reached out to us and asked if we'd be interested, and I said, send us some samples. We tried them out. We had the pleasure of meeting her at Iowa Sheep and Wool, and we worked with her, and she sent us a smattering of shawl cuffs and latches that we will, again, bring to SSK, but they're all reclaimed materials, so that's really cool. And then we'll also have stitch marker sets from they'll be on the listing. I can't remember. We worked with her for some goodie bag items for the retreat, but I also picked up some little stitch marker tins that have funny sayings on them, and then our logo on the back. And there's a variety of stitch markers in light bulb and round rings in a variety of sizes in them. And I think you get 30 stitch markers in them. And those will be coming to the SSK market as well as being put up on the website as well. Knitting at the Estate, our retreat, which is coming up here soon in September. We have 9 spots now available off-site if you want to get you and your knitting group to come together and split hotel rooms. You get everything included other than your hotel lodging included in the price, which you can purchase your spot on leadingmenfiberarts.com. And then after that, I will send out questionnaires and whatnot. We will leave those spots open till maybe like a week before the retreat to get final counts for food. But yeah, if you want to get a group of friends together, share some hotel rooms. The hotel rooms in Monticello, which is like a 10-minute drive away, are pretty cheap. They're not the fanciest hotels, but they'll do. And but it gets you everything included in the retreat. So there's that. I did send out an email to retreat attendees last week, I want to say, with class rosters and class homework and materials. So if you have not seen that email, please check your spam folder. It came from Knitting at the Estate, so check that. All of it's also listed on our Ravelry group as well. We are looking for more sponsors to donate items for goodie bags and or door prizes. So if you are a maker, please check out knittingattheestate.com for more information, or you can send us an email, which we would greatly appreciate, at knittingattheestate@gmail.com, letting me know you are interested in donating, and I will get you our information. So there's that. All right, upcoming shows. And I said this was going to be shorter. Who am I kidding? A little bit shorter. This weekend is the Super Summer Knit Together Open Market. So I'm going for the whole retreat, which is Wednesday through Sunday, down in Nashville, Tennessee at the Scarrett Bennett Center, which is a beautiful campus. It's an old missionary campus now being used for, it's pretty much has dorms, and it's a retreat center, raising funds for battered women and women of domestic violence and their families. The open market will be July 20th in the afternoon. The market is for retreat attendees only in the morning, but in the afternoon from 1 to 4, it is open for a $5 door charge to get in. Usually you get a nice shopping bag for that, unless they run out. And then the following week, we are going to be trying out a new yarn store for a trunk show, and that is Starstruck Cat Yarn Studio. And that is in Greenwood, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. So on July 27th, we will be there. They are hosting us for a trunk show, so we'll be setting up on Friday. And then you can come in anytime they are open on Saturday. I believe it's 11 to 4 for the trunk show itself. And we will bring everything we can bring to the trunk show, and we'll put out everything we can put out. So we will be there in attendance as well. And so if you are in the Indianapolis area, we would love if you could make it out to say hi and, of course, peruse our yarns. So, as always, you can check the shop at leadingmenfiberarts.com. You can see show notes at dramaticknits.com. We would love if you would join our Ravelry groups for either one of those. And you can find the show on YouTube as well. Unfortunately, no more iTunes. But if you are watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up button or click subscribe if that's how you follow your podcast. And, of course, we'd love to have you over in the Ravelry group as well. So, until I see you again, hopefully with Amanda, in about 2 weeks or so, I hope you knit something dramatic.